Dan Perry here with another Dan on Tech Python video. Let's continue to look at the print function and things we can do with printing. Inside of our quotes in the print function, we've got some escape characters that we can use for things. The \n is the new line character. A \t is for tab. If we need to actually print either a single or a double quote, we use a \/ for those. And if we need to print the \, we do a \. Now, there are other escape characters, but these are the ones you would typically use. If you needed to look at the others or use any others, you can look those up and you can find those online. So if we look here, if I've got print, and inside the quotes, I say, this goes, and I do a \n, it should move to a new line. And so you'll notice this goes, and then it comes down to a new line. I can also print well, if I want let's, say I want an apostrophe, I could do \s. I can say tab, and I could do a \t. Now I put a space there just for readability. It wouldn't need a space. And then close my quotes and run it, and notice the apostrophe appears and it moves over a little bit on the tab. Now you can't, I actually didn't put anything after the tab, so you can't really tell. So let's come back and copy that. And after the T in tab, let's say tab. So it should say tab twice, but one should be tabbed over to the next tab stop, and you can see there it is. Now, let's mess this up. Let's make a mistake, and let's go in and copy this, paste it in, and let me forget the \. Notice that my color coding is wrong now. The S tab, \tab are not in the green. If I take out that apostrophe, they're there again. Let me put that in and enter, and you can see I get a syntax error. I get an error saying, something's wrong with this sentence structure. The command is incorrect. So it will warn you there. You need to look at your syntax highlighting if you're working in idle or working in an IDE that gives it, and it will give you a hint. But otherwise, you would go back, you would look and say, well, what's wrong with that? And hopefully figure out that in this case we got 3 apostrophes, so there's a problem with the number of apostrophes there. Now, there's other formatting we can do, and when we're working with variables, we have that ability to put inside the curly braces variables and insert those. Now, in order to format those variables, we can use some codes. D is for a signed integer, I for an unsigned. A signed integer has positive and negative values. F for floating point numbers. If we want floating point numbers with exponents, you can use E. The difference between the lower and uppercase E is that the E that it shows for the exponent will be either an upper or lower. And an S for string. We can add numbers to that to indicate the size of it. So here's some examples. Now, numbers are normally right justified. Strings left justified. And then we've got some examples here. :5D or indicates a 5-digit integer. A 0:7D would be the first argument, that argument 0 in the format, and a 7-digit decimal. Then we've got a floating point that's 8 characters with 2 decimal places. Now, if it won't fit, if the integer portion of that will not fit, it ignores that portion of the formatting. And we can do the exponent. For a string, we would pad the spacing on the string. So let's look at some examples. So I've got my print statement here, and let's say that I've got a couple of numbers. We've got the dot format, and inside there, let's say I've got, instead of variables, let's just use numbers right now. If I don't do any formatting, work from these integers, you can see these integers are shown, and there's that space, whatever space I put here. Maybe I want to, or ought to put a tab between them, but I won't, because we're going to format them. So here I'm going to say :10, and here I'm going to say :, let's go 20. And when I run it now, because numbers are right aligned, it leaves 10 spaces for the first number, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it pads to the left, and then it's got 20 spaces for the 6, 7, 8, 9, so again, it will pad on the left side of it. And if we wanted to control the argument, I could put a 1 here, a 0 here, and that would reverse the order. You see that because argument 1 and 0. Now let's change these to floating point numbers. And come over here. Now notice with the integers, I did not put the D. Since it's an integer, it actually assumes the D, but the D would have worked. But now for the floating point, I am going to have to do the F. So the first one will be 10 digits, and it will be 2 decimal places, and the second would be 20 digits and 3 decimal places. And you can see that even though the numbers themselves had 4 and 5 decimal places, it formats it with that number of decimal places. Now let's change the formatting a little bit. And with this one, let's make it a 5.3, this second number. And you'll notice that it just ignored pretty much the formatting because the integer portion was too big. It would not fit in that 5.3 spacing. So let's go and copy that. And now I didn't change it there. So let's go in here and change that again to the 5.3. Okay, now I've got it fixed where it will fit in the formatting, and when I go in here and run it, it will respect the format now that the 5.3, that number will fit. For a string, let's change the first one to a string. You can see that it creates a string. Now, you can't really tell because of the formatting of the floating point number, the spacing, that it padded it to the right. So let's go in here, copy this, and let's just take out the formatting for the number. And let's actually put that right beside it so there's no spaces added there. And you see a couple of spaces here. Now if I change this to 15, you can see the additional space, so it pads it to the right. Now we've got our string here, and we've got it padding it to the right of the string. Now, if I want to pad it to the left of the string, what I can do is add this greater than sign. That will pad it to the left. And you can see now it adds the padding to the left. Now, let's go in and format our number again. And if I formatted the number, say, colon 8.2, now we can see it has added a little bit of spacing there because it's the 8 characters. And now, say I want to pad that. Actually, let's go in and pad it a little bit more so it's more visible. Let's do 18.2. And you can see the large amount of spaces here. Now, if I take that and I use a less than sign, that will say to left align it, and notice now it's right up against the string because it's being left aligned. So if you want a number to be left aligned, you can use that less than sign, and if you want right aligned for either a number or a string, use the greater than. Since the string is normally left aligned, we don't use the less than typically for it, and since numbers are normally right aligned, we don't use the greater than to right align. But those are available for us in our formatting. Thank you for watching this Dan on Tech video. Please subscribe to this playlist so you don't miss future videos. Please check out and subscribe to our other Dan on Tech channel playlists.